Philosopher and journalist Albert Camus wrote, "Autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower. The seasons are changing and it's time to take out our warm clothes." Assalamu alaikum, shukran for joining us on this week's An Nur the Light. Relocating can be a trying experience, but our guest this week has made the best of the move. We spent some time with her to bring you this story.
Cape Town has attracted its fair share of human beings since its establishment. Some came as conquerors, artisans, traders and slaves amongst others. Its reputation as a tavern of the seas was well known, and many who first laid eyes on the city fell in love and settled. As a port city, Cape Town has been home to a diverse group of people, and recently many foreigners are beginning to call it home.
Cape Town is really beautiful. It's beautiful. As you can see, I can see Table Mountain from here, and then the beach is just half an hour from here. And the people are friendly. Everybody's just smiley and ready to, to greet you. Hi, like you don't find it in a lot of cities. When everyone knew I am from Indonesia, they are very friendly, and like, oh, you from Indonesia, like. It's been very good. I don't have problem to adjust to people in Cape Town, Muslim or non-Muslim.
Echi Ismail is from Indonesia and fell in love not only with the city but also her husband. She uprooted and moved lock, stock and barrel into the unknown. Upon arrival, she felt something familiar but couldn't quite place it until she explored a little more.
I found it very fascinating that Islam in South Africa is very similar with Islam in Indonesia, because the forefathers are from Indonesia. For example, Sheikh Yusuf and Tuan Guru, and they all come from Indonesia. So mostly all the Islamic way is the same with Indonesia.
As she explored more and more, her attention turned to writing what she saw. Soon this turned into a blog that has recently been runner-up in the religious category of the South Africa Blog Awards.
My blog is like a connection between South Africa and Indonesia. When I cook, when my friends come over, they always ask, "Oh, can you give me the recipe of this and that?" And then I always been busy to share recipes, but to each friends. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I just put it in a blog so everyone can see? And also with Indonesia, if you know that Indonesia is very good with the fashion, modest fashion. So I just want to show how nice it is, the style, the hijab scarf and stuff. And also I'm concerned with halal restaurants and halal products. When I first came to Cape Town, I used to spend a lot of time in the shops because I don't know which one is halal and which one is not halal. So now I'm quite expert I know all the products, and I just want to share with everyone. And also we like to eat out, and I like to give reviews. The response has been so good. I've only started last year, but yeah, alhamdulillah, I won the runner-up for Best Religious in SA Blog Awards last year.
From the first day Echi walked in and did our first review, I wasn't aware of it. My wife told me about it, found it on Facebook, and after that we found that there was a huge increase in trade with people coming in and trying our breakfast and that sort of thing. So it's made a big difference to us.
Echi has been in the city for 12 years now and is firmly rooted in the community. She presents a radio show on one of the local radio stations and is sharing not only her passion but recipes as well.
I knew Echi by basically going through some blogs. We were looking at someone in Cape Town who blogs about Muslim life in Cape Town. I came across Echi's blog and I was fascinated by how real she kept her things, and the fact that she experienced it, things herself and wrote about it was fascinating to me. We needed at Voice of the Cape to integrate our social media into what is currently happening at Voice of the Cape on air, and hence the reason of me calling her up and saying, "Echi, are you interested?" And the rest is history. I would like to well, basically when it came to the feedback from the first show, it was fabulous. I think people were looking for someone that keeps things real, that keeps it, to the point and goes through everyday life and is able to actually talk about that. And she doesn't shy away from topics. If it's not halal, she says that it's not halal. And again, very real. And I think people appreciate that.
Many of the slaves and artisans who were brought to Cape Town by the Dutch colonizers came from the Indonesian archipelago. They left behind their cultures, traditions, but most importantly, their religion, Islam. Their roots are firmly entrenched in the fabric, history, and people of the city. Echi has become the modern version of the ancestors who remain here.
Every month we present our Q&A with Maulana Zakaria Philander. Questions are sent to us by viewers who are searching for answers. Let's see what Maulana has this week.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Maulana Zakaria Philander. Welcome to QnA on An Nur the Light. Our first question comes from Facebook and asks, is hunting halal? Is hunting permissible? Most definitely hunting is permissible in Islam if the hunting is done for the purpose of the acquisition of food. If it is just hunting for sport and there is absolutely no reason why the animal is going to be killed, and then it is questionable to hunt under these circumstances. If a person is hunting because you want to cull and you want to bring down the population of certain species because it is going to be of benefit to man to do that, then it is also permissible. It is most definitely not permissible to hunt those species which are on the endangered list and which, if they are hunted, will result in man having lost out on a particular type of animal and not being there for our future generations to enjoy. The next viewer would like to know, is it halal to get an Arabic tattoo on your body? The Prophet, peace be upon him, had said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْوَاشِمَ وَالْمُسْتَوْشِمَ, that Allah distances from His mercy those who tattoo and those who make tattoos for others. So in Islam, a tattoo is not permissible, as the body is seen as something sacred and something as an amana, a trust which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had endowed the individual with, and the individual is responsible to look after that amana, to look after that trust in the best possible way. So the Prophet had advised that it is not permissible at all for a Muslim to have any type of tattoo put on his body. Our final question was emailed into us, and this viewer would like to know, what is the view on having an arranged marriage in Islam? Arranged marriages in Islam is permissible, but there are certain recommendations in Islam when it comes to arranged marriages. One of the recommendations is that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had advised that the parties who are going to get married, they need to meet one another so that they can see if there is any familiarity, or so that they can see if there's any connection, and if they see suitability in one another. Another aspect of an arranged marriage is that there should be mukafa. There should be suitability between the two spouses. It means that they should have mutual interest, they should come more or less from the same background, and so on and so forth, in order for them to be amicable to one another and in order for them to make a happy couple going forward. Finally, the last and very strong recommendation is that the lady who is going to get married has to agree that she wants to get married, because in no way can an arranged marriage be of such a type where marriage is forced upon her in Islam. That brings us to the end of Q&A. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
For any of you who'd like to ask a question to Maulana, then please do so via Facebook or email. Our next story will have you taking flight. Port Elizabeth is the home of flying in South Africa, and we travel there to spend some time with a pilot in training.
Port Elizabeth is blessed with a stunning coastline and rolling green landscape that serves as a picturesque training ground to take to the sky and learn to fly. Also known as the Windy City, Port Elizabeth has attracted trainee pilots from around the world.
Port Elizabeth is a really great place to learn to fly, and one of the major reasons for that is we're at the major airport with lots and lots of traffic, and so much of learning to be a pilot is fitting into the air traffic control system. Very few other flight schools have the opportunity to be at a big airport like this. And then the other thing, of course, is our wind. So when the wind starts blowing, we can't stop the flight training, and our pilots learn to fly in the wind. I very often had co-pilots who learned to fly in Gauteng who didn't have a clue what to do with a crosswind, when they were trying to land. Right, so Madiba Bay School of Flight started back in 2008. So how I came up with the name was I was lying inside my lounge with my children inside a little tent camping. And I couldn't sleep at night because we were so squashed. And I was dreaming about the school and thinking about the name. And seeing as we live in Nelson Mandela Bay, I came up with the name Madiba Bay School of Flight.
The demand for pilots is at an all-time high. With very little requirements for entry into flight school, it remains one of the highest-paying jobs in the world.
The worldwide demand for pilots is on the increase, with just so many more passengers taken to the air, and Africa is really opening up for air travel. A lot of Middle Eastern airlines, everybody needs pilots. And since the end of the Cold War, there's no more military pilots or ex-military pilots going to fly for the airlines, which means they have to now get pilots from the civilian sector. And we're finding that we are training way too few pilots in the world to answer the demand. Okay, so the biggest challenges for people wanting to become pilots is the cost, but it can be overcome. There are bursaries available, and it's not more expensive really than other university directions that you might choose to go in. 290,000 Rand will give you a commercial pilot license at our school. Other challenges include, depending on where the guys are from, but some guys have never in their lives started an engine, and they have no technical background.
There's a rigorous training program for any prospective pilot, and Mohammed has just taken the first steps towards his dream job.
I've always wanted to become a pilot since I was young. When I was 15 years old, my swimming coach, did his PPL at Madiba School of Flight, and he convinced me to come to the school. And he said this was the only school that flew slings, and I was convinced, and at the age of 17, I enrolled by Madiba School of Flight. It takes hard work to become a pilot. In school, I took maths you take maths as a subject. But as soon as you get to the flying school, you have to do your PPL, where you have to pass 8 subjects and do your practical on the plane. But to become a good pilot, it's to be able to fly a plane, but to become a great pilot, you have to recover from all the emergencies that happens in a plane. Well, when I was young, I've always wanted to fly a plane, and now I got an opportunity and I'm taking it with 2 hands. And I've always wanted to travel the world, and now once you get your pilot license and your commercial license, you'll be able to travel the world for free.
It takes hard work and dedication to qualify for a pilot's license, with many hours spent in a cockpit high up in the sky.
Well, my coach went to this flight school, and he's the one that convinced me to come to the school. And I think this is one of the best schools in the Eastern Cape when it comes to flying. A lot of people from all over the world come to this school, and they were one of the first schools to start with the slings. You have to go through 2 stages, your PPL, and by completing that you'll have to pass 8 exams and do your practical. And after that you'll move on to your commercial pilot license. I'm not too sure much about the commercial part, but after that you'll have to probably build your hours. You have to fly around about 1,200 and up to apply for a job at SAA or wherever. Flight schools, it's just much better. It's much better than university. It's just more relaxing, not a lot of pressure. You're allowed to fly in the air by yourself. You need just your student pilot license, and you're allowed to fly by yourself, and it's just a good experience.
The most rewarding part by far is just the human factor. Working with the young people and seeing them make progress in their lives, seeing their minds become full of hope as they sort of go towards a career that will actually earn them money, and that they can get going with their lives. The people aspect is definitely the best. So you see guys go solo and overcome challenges and pass the exams and all those.
South African pilots are world-renowned, and with better education prospects, more young people can look at this as a job.
From flying high to hitting the streets, this week's Street Style features the cool kids from KwaZulu-Natal.
defines you as an individual. It basically defines you as a person. When you wake up every morning, what are you going to wear? Are you going to be wearing something casual, something elegant?
Style is what I encompass out, what I show to others, what I wear, what I want people to say about me.
It's very easy to dress as a Muslim and to dress modestly and in an acceptable manner, because there's so many items that you can mix and match that are in fashion and trending at the moment, like the maxi skirt, the maxi dresses, the longer length coats, all things that are long and flowy, and you could just add your hijab on with a beautiful statement neck piece and you're good to go.
As my religion, Islam influences how I feel, and how I feel encompasses how I project myself. By making myself more modest, I, as a Muslim, am able to fit in a contemporary society with modest wearing as well.
The global trends can always be translated into modest wear. There's nothing that cannot, because even if you're wearing a halter dress and if you wear a nice inner or a kimono over, there's always a way to transform it into a modest look.
Today I'm actually wearing a skirt that was designed by me. It's a vintage-inspired skirt that has a floral brocade. It's high-waisted and has pleats to give you the vintage look. I paired it up with a plain black shirt and a beautiful neck piece. I wore my hijab as a turban today. That's why I wore a high-collared neckline to cover up a bit.
I usually like to keep things a bit formal and smart and casual. A long-sleeve shirt rolled up as well, with the formal pants, if not to cover myself. The Chinese collar helps me to keep cool at times, as well when I read as well.
Today I've got on an Aztec print jeans, which is actually quite on trend at the moment. I love bling. So I did a whole boho top, but with a little bit of bling to give it that wow factor. So you can take this garment going into the evening by just changing the boots, okay, which is also quite trendy at the moment with your wedge heel. And then just put on a stiletto bling bling heel and you're ready to take on the night.
Accessories are a huge part of your outfit. It actually can pick up something that's absolutely plain, an outfit that needs no efforts in it. You could just wear a simple statement neckpiece and your outfit would automatically look amazing.
The fringe tassel bags are very in 2016. So that's why we've just coordinated it with the garment. A little bit of bling bling, a little bit of pearl, which is always classic. And who doesn't love diamonds?
I take my influences from usually what I feel is important to me and what I value as an individual.
Our cooking segment has always been one of our more popular segments, and we're on the lookout for guests who want to show us their culinary skills. But first, let's take a look at this week's recipe.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to An Nur. Shepherd's pie is a traditional English dish that's been cooked since the 1800s, and today I'd like to share my take on it. And the ingredients that I use for my shepherd pie are the following. I've got about 1 kilogram of lean beef mince. Top side is the better option, but what makes this dish really nice is if you substitute the mince for some khima steak. So 1 onion finely chopped. I've got about a half a cup of table celery. This is optional, you don't have to put it in, but it does give a nice depth of flavor. I've got about a 1/4 cup of sago that I've soaked in some water, and I'm just going to pop this in the microwave because it goes a lot faster. I've got some vegetable oil for braising. I've got about a teaspoon of pesto, which is like an onion gravy that I've just mixed with some water. I've got some bay leaf just for aromatics. I've got a tablespoon of crushed garlic. I've got a green chili that I'm literally just going to top and tail to add some intense flavors. I've got white pepper, and I've got salt, and I'm going to top all of that off with some cheese. So I've already preheated my oven to 180 degrees. And now I'm going to start by heating my pan and braising our onion. Now when you braise onions and you caramelize, it's a good idea to not skimp on the oil. I know we're all health conscious these days, but then rather use something like a coconut oil as an alternative, but you need to get your onions nicely browned. And to aid that process, I like to add just a pinch of salt, which gets the moisture out of my onions. So my onions are nice and brown. I'm just going to put my table celery in, let that go for just a few more minutes, and then I'll pop in the mince. So I'm going to use a slotted spoon, and the reason why I use this is a nifty little trick that I'm going to show you. I use the back of the spoon to squish down on the mince to make sure that I get an equal distribution of the onions, the celery, and the beef. So my mince is nearly there. And what I'm going to do now is add my garlic, my white pepper, and my salt to taste. Okay, so my mince is browning really nicely now. And I'm going to add my sago cheat. So that means that I put that 1/4 cup of sago in the microwave with some water for about 4 minutes. That way, no sticky parts, quick fix, faster cooking. And let this simmer for about 5 minutes, and all we have to do is get our mash ready. So my mince is done, and I'm just giving my mashed potatoes a quick whisk just to make sure that it's really nice and smooth. And now I've just got to put everything together. And about 1 kilo of mince is enough to feed a family of 8 very comfortably. And just make sure that your mashed potatoes are nice and soft and buttery. And now my twist, which is the cheese. And then I'm just going to top all of this off with a sprinkling of oregano. You could use dried parsley or you could do mixed herbs. Choice is yours. So this has been in the oven for all of 30 minutes. The cheese is all gooey, the mashed potatoes are buttery, and all that's left to do is enjoy this with a crisp salad. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
That's all, folks. The end of our show. I hope you're checking us on YouTube and telling your family and friends to do the same. Until next time, I'm Mariam Mukwanda. Salam Hantle. Assalamu alaikum.